everybody. This is an exciting week. This is episode 3. And we have several announcements. Sonia had to write them down. Wow. So you may have noticed we have a theme song. So we've got an intro. We've got music now. We're really making it official.
Things are coming together, okay?
Things are really coming together, you guys. And we're in a new location, so we are at Amy's house now recording. So
hi, this is my house.
Fantastic energy. Hope you guys like the scenery. Let us know. We have a new microphone, so our sound quality is hopefully going to be a lot better and less background disruptions.
Less disruptions, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
More consistent light too, as well. With
more control.
Yeah, more control over the light. Yeah, I think it should be good.
Okay, we're trying to enhance the experience. Because we care. And we also, this is the biggest announcement, we have a name.
We have a name.
Drum roll.
Sorry, I'm not.
We are Dark Alignment.
It's Dark Alignment.
That's supposed to be where like the fireworks go.
I mean, I can add a little
We didn't have that.
Say it again, I'll add a noise.
We are Dark Alignment!
Dark Alignment!
Okay, so we have
to be cheesier. I have this little thing. It improves the video quality, I promise.
Beautiful. I trust you and your creative instincts and input. I support you.
Thanks.
Fully.
Thanks.
Yes. So we do have a name now, which is so exciting. Thank you, everyone who helped us decide and gave feedback and participated in the poll, because you guys actually chose this name for us. So thank you for making it easy on us.
Yes, thank you so much.
And we have some more official news. We have a Patreon page now that there's a link. There's going to be a link.
There's a link in the description.
Yes.
So if you want to support our, what do we call it?
Our mission?
Our endeavor, our brain baby.
Our brainchild.
I like brain baby.
If you want to help us raise our brain baby, then
go ahead and click the link in below and help support us.
Yes.
Give us child support for our brain baby.
We would so appreciate anything for just, things like a new microphone cost money. But we appreciate just any support and feedback and just you guys listening and being here. So thanks for being here. And then we have Instagram at Dark Alignment.
A Facebook page, which will exist before the video's up.
It doesn't exist at this moment, but it will.
It will exist.
By the time you hear it, it's going to be real.
Yeah. It doesn't exist in this moment, but in the moment you're listening to me, it does.
Good.
Future.
We're living in the future.
We're
going to take a trip to the past real quick, though, because we're going to talk about the first episodes that we've done so far. So last time, we looked at my girl, Eileen Wuornos. Serial killer with her 7 victims and just kind of talking about her chart. And then before that, we had a victim of one of the most notorious cold cases ever committed, and that is the Black Dahlia. So we've done a victim. We've done a female serial killer. So this week, we are doing...
We wanted to give the boys a chance to be on the podcast. So.
Boys, we're here, and we know you're there listening. And
we acknowledge you, men.
We're not sexist. So, we're bringing in everyone's favorite birthday clown, John Wayne Gacy. Yay! Yay! Okay. So, John Wayne Gacy, for those of you who don't know, which Amy did not know who he was, or so...
I called him Gary, right before the podcast.
Did call him Gary.
I was like, what about Gary? What are we doing with Gary?
Let's talk about Gary. No. He had 33 victims in total, at least.
Okay,
that's actually what was confirmed. They were all males, and they were ages 15 to 21. So they're young boys.
He had a theme.
He had a type, we'll say, with his victims. And they were all found in the same place, too. So it's pretty easy to...
tell it was him.
Damn. He is mostly known as being the clown killer.
Whoa.
And he went on a crime spree that lasted 6 years in the Chicago area. So it's complete...
I have so many questions immediately.
Yes. He is a complete nightmare. So we're going to start at the very beginning of his life. So he was born the day after my birthday. Everybody's a Pisces. What?
I have a thing for Pisces. She's a Pisces. She's just only picking Pisces people.
I swear it's not on purpose.
This is the Pisces podcast.
When I start looking at it and I see there are Pisces, I'm just like, shit, what is happening? So he was born March 17th, 1942. It's the St. Patrick's Day.
Did you know everyone's a Pisces, actually?
Basically.
Yeah, everyone.
I don't like the theme of that with our topic. But hey, interesting stuff. He had two sisters. Mm-hmm. So he was the only boy, and his dad always wanted a boy.
So he was loved, right?
Unfortunately, he wasn't the type of boy that his dad wanted. So his dad was a machinist, and he was like really controlling, demanded obedience, really old school style discipline.
Everyone loves that in a dad.
Yeah,
everyone.
And a guy like this is going to expect his son to be extremely, hyper masculine, and John just wasn't that. He didn't have any interest in fishing or baseball, and instead he wanted to plant flowers and cook with his sisters.
Aww.
So
that sounds fun.
It does. Yeah. His mom was a homemaker, and the marriage was really not a good one because the dad was also a fucking alcoholic, and he would spend his evenings in the basement getting drunk off of brandy. He would come up for dinner and just be like completely wasted. They get in arguments. He would beat the children with a razor strap.
Oh my God.
And his sister, actually, I saw in an interview that she said that he didn't ever cry. Like, he learned to not cry after the beatings, and that he just kind of, like, internalized it in a weird way. So his own sister said that about him. But his dad, like, constantly emasculated him and, like, did it publicly and shamed him and, like, called him a wimp.
Yeah.
Would talk about his feminine qualities and say that he acted like a girl.
And this was, what, in the 40s? Right?
Yeah, you're talking, like, in the early 50s, probably about this time when he was maybe 8 or 9.
All this gender-neutral stuff probably hadn't hit yet. So.
No, this was 70-ish years ago. So that's crazy. I think it was that long ago.
That is crazy.
Wow. But really, really sad. Childhood as far as how his dad treated him and everything. And to make it worse, he had a congenital heart condition. Mm-hmm. So his dad also saw that as a fucking failure. That he had this child that was sick.
He couldn't even,
Yeah. And so whenever he learned his child was sick, like, he's not going to be good at sports or anything like that, but maybe he'll be good at school. So his dad, like, kind of wanted him to be good at something else.
He could be really smart, manly,
But he missed a lot of school because he was sick all the damn time. And, like, couldn't make friends, started making bad grades. So it just, he was repeatedly reminded of, like, being a disappointment to his father.
Oh, my God.
So, it really rough as far as growing up. And he said that he always felt different. And the only time he ever felt like he fit in was when he was in the Boy Scouts. And that was seen as, like, kind of a masculine thing. But you also learned to cook and do campfire cooking and, like, all this stuff. And he was really good at that. So that was kind of a way of fitting in.
Okay, that's nice.
And just kind of talking a little bit, just from kind of an identity development perspective. Whenever you're being compared as a child and you're being compared to, like, what is normal, and you don't meet those standards, like, kids really internalize that. It becomes part of their identity, so it becomes negative identity. So you really have a poor view of yourself at that point. So just kind of thinking of where John Wayne Gacy was in his mind as a child. Because at this time...
It's really difficult.
I always feel sorry for them in their childhood times.
Yeah.
When you find out what they become, lots of people have bad childhoods. Not everybody becomes a monster. So I feel bad. But I want to kind of understand how he became what he was. So...
I can already see some things on the chart.
Oh, God.
Keep going.
Okay. So things are going to kind of take a turn as he enters, like, a late childhood time. So, like, those adolescent years when you're, like, teenager. He came out to his best friend about his kind of curiosities, like his fantasies about dressing up in women's clothes.
Okay.
So he had his mom's silk panties and a bra there and, like, actually showed it to his friend and said that he wondered how he would look dressed up. And,
probably not a good thing to share at that time.
Teenage boys aren't really known for being super sensitive to those types of situations. So, of course, his friend kind of, like, had a weird reaction. Was like, no. So John buried that secret and just continued to date girls. So he was confused about his sexuality and really pretended to be straight. So again, that goes back to identity development. Like, he's not able to be open with who he is.
Everything is wrong. He just
so he's acknowledging that those feelings are there at that point. So he's tolerating who he is inside. But he's still so deeply in the closet and, like, terrified of anybody else finding out. So he doesn't want to be that. He's, like, denying his personhood in a way. So he, like, doesn't even accept himself. That's kind of where he is from becoming a person. So let's fast forward now to early adulthood. So he drops out of high school, which, again, Dad was not happy about.
No.
And he decided to move away. So, like, his sister said this was probably, like, the best thing he ever did for himself was move away from the family. And went to Springfield, Illinois. Became a shoe salesman and was, like, really determined to make a name for himself.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Shoes. That's lucrative business.
Shoes are, really.
Shoes. His mom and sister thought it was going to be good, but he always really craved acceptance. So, like, what he didn't get from his father, that approval and that acceptance, he found it through volunteer work, actually. So he was a member of the Junior Chamber of Commerce, and he organized things like anti-litter campaigns. He actually became involved in, like, real politics and mingled with politicians and knew the governor. So
people probably knew him when all of this came out.
Yes. Like, absolutely.
Whoa.
So he was always trying to gain notoriety.
Wow.
So he was willing to do, like, anything a politician asked for from him if he got some sort of recognition.
Right.
So he was
some kind of validation.
Putting himself, he wanted them to publicly recognize his achievements for whatever he did. He wanted all the glory.
Yeah, that makes sense based on his childhood. Yep.
Yes, he's constantly trying to prove his manhood and establish himself in some sort of a powerful way. So that's a common theme of him wanting power and control.
Yes.
Whoa.
Your phone.
Whoops, it's down there. I forgot. So he started dating a bookkeeper and that he met at his work named Marlon Myers, and she came from a really good family, which he saw as an opportunity. He was always an opportunist. Yeah. So he married her, and then they actually had a child, which that was something I didn't know about him when I started looking in this. But so he's living this, like, normal life. He's
regular dude
out in the world, becoming who he really wants to be. His dad is proud of him for the first time in his life. Like, everybody said, he seemed like he was just doing so well.
And he's probably, like, how oldish?
Let's see. It said he was 22. So about this time, I want to say he's, like, late 20s, mid to late 20s. This is his early adulthood. So, So things are
hit
great.
the ground running. Yeah, 20s. Yeah, okay.
He's doing quite well for himself.
Yeah.
And then his demons kind of come back after he's had his first child. Because this was February 24th, 1966. He was at the bar, and his wife was at home giving birth. This was when his child was born. Gosh, I didn't write this in there correctly.
My God.
Yeah. So his wife's having their baby. He is at a bar, and this is when he hooks up with a guy for the first time. So he has an affair.
Okay.
His first gay experience, and he ends up having oral sex with this guy. But then he...
What a moment for that. I should pull that chart too.
Symbolic.
Can figure out the day.
Whose chart would you pull? The baby's?
Well, it'd be the baby's and his first time with the man.
We don't know the mystery.
It would be
man.
the same.
Let's find that guy. Let's track him down.
We need your birth time.
Sir. We need to ask you about an experience. So he pretended that whole thing never happened and just completely moved on. So he does this on the day his child is born. Super the psyche going on in there.
It must have been like a real
I don't have children
energy.
So the fact I don't have a child, so I can't imagine kind of the significance. I mean obviously I can imagine it, but
I just can't imagine like
that would be like
him not being around at all. Like I know there were times where the men weren't supposed to be in the room with their wife or whatever. But he was totally gone.
He was at a bar hooking
up. He was totally gone.
He was getting it in at the bar,
like rejecting his life. Like,
so he's doing that. So they had a son. And when he was born, John felt like his dad was actually proud of him for the first time at that point. Wow. So he says that he was married, he had a family, he was successful. So this was like where he felt he was doing his best.
But deep down, are you really happy?
So, as I mentioned, he was an opportunist. Yeah. So with this marriage to Marlene, his new father-in-law owned a whole branch of Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurants. Okay. So Gacy went to go work there. They moved to Waterloo. He was the boss in charge, immediately put as a store manager, which he fucking loved because he's in control of people.
What's that called?
And powerful.
Nepotism.
I don't know. Is that what it's
called? Where you get hired because you're related.
Oh, is that what
nepotism?
That's called?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's nepotism.
Tell
me if I'm wrong.
I call it a privileged asshole in this situation where he gets put in charge of a bunch of people at one of the locations, and he asked his employees to call him Colonel.
Why? Okay.
I don't know. I wrote gross.
He didn't do anything. My grandfather actually was a colonel. So, and we would call him Colonel growing up.
Oh, wow.
But it was like fun and respectful. Like, it was like, he urged that. And for him to just like...
Well, it's the Colonel, like Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's like a mascot.
I know,
so
but
that's his thing, but it's embarrassing. He should be so...
Also, I don't like that it's a theme for the chicken place in general either. Well,
yeah.
I think the whole picture for me is insulting.
Your mascot shouldn't be a person. This
shouldn't be like an honorary ranking. Like, I don't know.
People are just now realizing that you shouldn't have people as mascots. Actually, this is a new thing that, like, cowboys shouldn't be a mascot. Or,
Native Americans don't need to be a mascot.
No. And 2 schools in our own town have
hillbillies don't need to be a mascot.
No, but they are. All Northwest Arkansas mascots are offensive group names.
Some.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
That's a whole other debate. We're getting into some hot local politics.
We got distracted. We're going to continue the story now.
We're going to continue the story now. So he wants people to call him the Colonel because he's gross. And now adulthood. He's got it all. Everything's good. Okay. But he decides to start a killing spree. So
cool.
He had a promising future, but he was hiding a really dark sexual compulsion. So,
an identity crisis.
Yeah. So kind of leading up to
daddy issues. And
major daddy issues. Major sexuality issues.
Yeah, lots of issues.
That's a big fucking problem.
Yeah.
So, it all kind of starts to come out through his membership as the Junior Chamber of Commerce, who they kept referring to in this documentary I watched as the JCs. Okay. So that's kind of like the abbreviation. Yeah. So he got appointed the chairman of this group, and they elected him. He was like, felt really like he was hot shit. And he was in charge of recruiting. Okay. So he got new members by taking them to a hotel and hiring a bunch of sex workers to entertain them and hosting orgies. So his sexual kinks start to come out in like kind of a public underground sort of a way, which is crazy because like his wife was into it too. So he was a really successful recruiter because of it.
Oh, that's fun.
Him and his wife were both swingers, and they had like group sex parties and orgies. So he's getting to experiment.
Okay, that's good.
In a safe setting, which is good and healthy.
Good. Yeah. I'm proud of him for that. So far.
He's using it as a means of recruitment for the Junior Chamber of Commerce, which is a little interesting. Yeah. As far as, it's one thing to have these sex parties if that's what you want to do, but kind of tying it into something that's kind of like a political affiliation is a little bit interesting. And then that year, the JCs voted him Man of the Year, and he was starting to campaign for president of the JCs at that point.
I was like, whoa.
And he won, and he's in office now. Oh, wait, what? No.
Our next president, guys.
Our next president. He's dead. He's dead. So this next section I have entitled Getting Gross.
Her notes are super fun, guys. Like,
yeah, I typed these all the
we might start skinning them into Patreon for you. It's really exciting.
I ran out of ink, so this one's hot pink, and it's a little difficult to read. I ordered bulk ink on Amazon, so I'm good now. Don't worry.
Prime Day.
What? So, yeah, there's some interesting stuff in my notes, but this section is called Getting Gross. This is where it really starts to fucking come out.
Tell me the gross.
Yeah, everything we've heard from
Give me the gross.
Yeah. Everything that has happened thus far has been pretty normal. Yeah. We're like, okay, this is a regular guy. Yeah. When does it cross over? This is it. So his second child was born.
All right. It seems to what was he doing what was he doing at this point?
I don't know, like at the time of the child's birth, but I do know that it's something seems to trigger every time a child is born. Yeah. I don't know what that is happening with him. If it's something that's like, this is so real that I have to do something so the opposite is something's triggering it. And his obsession comes out like hard at this point. So he invites a teenage boy who's 15 years old. He's actually the son of a family friend, a fellow JC member. So he invites their 15-year-old child over. Oh. This is problematic. Yes. And asks if he'd ever seen a stag film. Amy, have you ever seen a stag film?
Keep going.
And then when the boy said no, John puts one on, and it's on a projector, so it's fucking creepy.
Oh, it's like so they're like sitting on the couch.
It's like it's like the late 60s and 70s at this point. Like we're talking, there's not technology.
This is such a bad image. All right.
Yeah, so it's gross. So they're watching a gross movie on a projector, and then he gets the boy drunk because that was his thing. Was like, I'm like the cool uncle.
Right. No big deal.
You want to drink and party? Come over. So that's what he would do. And then he ends up forcing himself on the boy, and they had oral sex.
Okay.
And so watch porn, get drunk in my basement. Yeah. So then he
don't go into people's basements if you're any age.
Yeah, the basements are just not good.
Especially if you're under 18. Just avoid adult basements.
You know, my mom tries to get me to go in her basement, but it always means I'm going to be doing manual labor. So don't go in basements for any reason.
Creepy. There's something creepy could happen.
Nothing you want is in a basement.
Yeah, or you're going to have to work. Like, it's just not fun. It could get smelled at down there. The temperature's always like off. Mold. Yeah, don't do it. Don't go in the basement.
There's a lot of reasons to not go in the basement. John Wayne Gacy is the biggest reason.
He's a great reason.
So he threatens this poor boy, and that's how he gets away with this. Yeah. So he intimidates him and tells him that he has mob ties in Chicago, and basically if you say anything, like, you know, and then he also pays the boy $50 not to say anything. So that's in 1967, 1968. But in 1968, the child does tell his parents. Mm-hmm. And they press charges, and John Wayne Gacy is arrested and charged with sodomy.
Whoa.
So he's actually, this shatters his image. Like, he's had this image that he's upheld in society, and so to be, like, accused of, you know, doing this is a big no. Daddy probably was pissed. I can't imagine that Daddy was happy about this.
$50, 1960, with
inflation.
Today's
money.
It says in 2016 it'd be $405.
Fuck!
So it's way more than I thought.
I didn't know that things had inflated that much.
Apparently. I mean, it's put in 16 when I hit now. I guess that's when the site was made.
That's
crazy.
Hit
19. Okay, 2019, $432.
That's, wow, okay.
Just had to mention that. I was like, I could, you know, I got that question, I had to go.
I could go back in time today and live like a king with my $50. No.
All right.
Okay, that was good. That was a good side.
You gotta know.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody was wondering. So, he's in jail. He's arrested. Okay. He denied the allegations. He said the kid was a liar and was like insisting, I want a polygraph. Like, give me a polygraph. And he failed the fucking polygraph. Okay. He was going to prove his innocence, and he just proved he's an idiot. So,
all right.
Once everything like got out about the trial and everybody heard about it, other boys started coming forward and claiming the same thing. So he pled guilty to the sodomy charge and insisted that the boy engaged in sex or oral sex consensually, which is like, fuck you, dude. Because like, you're 15. You can't consent to shit at 15 with an adult. Mm-mm. You can probably consent with another 15-year-old, but I don't think it's going to be a situation where you're wanting to consent with a 40-year-old man when you're 15. Right. I don't, it's not cool. It's not legal. No. So whatever. Consent's important. Anyway, so I watched a film of like an interview of him actually talking about it. and I wanted to vomit. It was from 1992, which was 2 years before he was
I'll have to watch it after this.
Killed. Yeah, like, it was super gross hearing him talk about how it was consensual and shit. Like, it made me cringe. It made me angry. Oh, he's such a piece of shit. Like, when you hear him and see him talk, like, oh, there's a lot of interviews. Yeah. He didn't like interviews quite as much as Eileen, but they do exist. He did talk, you know.
We need to find someone with, like, a Leo sun or, like, a Leo Mercury to do, because I bet there'd be a lot of footage of them. Oh,
yeah. I mean,
we had a Leo victim.
Yes, yeah, that's Leo right. Victim. Okay. Well, for his fucking sodomy charges, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Mm-hmm. And even in jail, Gacy was, like, really social, wanted to be friends with everybody, trying to, like, have status. He was friends with inmates, officers, and even the warden. He got a job as head cook, so he ran the prison kitchen. Yeah. And then I saw another video clip, and it was from 1969, where he's being interviewed, and it's like a fucking weird prison Christmas special. It's super weird. And his Christmas segment, like, got on the news, and he was he's in a boys' choir. They're, like, singing carols and shit. And I saw footage of all of it, and it was, like, super weird.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It was weird. Like, okay. Anyway, so his dad dies of cirrhosis of the liver and is super alcoholic on Christmas morning. So Gacy actually didn't handle this very well, as you can probably imagine. Right. He felt like he had disappointed his dad so much that he was somehow, like, responsible for the death. Mm-hmm. Like, that it was over him being such a failure as a son. So his grief did not manifest well, and it turned into violent rage, which is always fantastic. So he started actually turning in prison. So where he was, like, social and outgoing and in the fucking boys' choir, he starts acting out toward anybody, and especially people that he thought were gay. He started to really be hateful. He kicked a guy in the face, actually, after seeing two men engage in oral sex. So he's, like, an explosion of hatred.
He could have been exploring in prison.
He could have been really taking advantage.
Yeah. That could have been a prime time, and it sounds like he missed an opportunity.
He missed an opportunity. As such an opportunist, he really wasted this one. He could have been doing stuff and things. Instead, he was getting super violent. And finally, he gets out of prison in 1970. Okay. On good behavior after being like, I don't really see kicking
he was a good boy in prison
as being good, but sure. He only served 16 months of his 10-year sentence.
That's crazy.
He's fine. Let's just let him go. I mean, he's kicking people in the face. It's okay. This is good behavior by standards of 1970, I guess. So this segment is entitled On the Streets. And there is a trigger warning, because this is where shit starts kind of getting graphic.
Every one of our episodes, just expect trigger warning. In the announcements. At the announcements.
I say that every time. Trigger TW at top. I'll know what that means later if I don't remind you.
Yeah.
Okay. What does this mean? Most
TW.
What?
Who's that?
Who's that? Okay. So he went back to his childhood home. He's 28 now.
Okay.
So he's back in Chicago and he's living with his mom.
Hi, Mommy.
Hey, Mom. I'm back from sodomizing in jail. I'm here to make you proud now that Dad's gone. Okay. It's just the two of us. So his wife divorced him, and he never saw her or his kids ever again. This is why I didn't know he had a wife and kids ever. I knew about him.
Oh, because you just heard about... Okay.
I knew about him living with his mom in Chicago, and then it was just the two of them. I didn't know really any...
Okay, so he's not with his family at all.
Right.
Right, okay.
So when he goes to jail, his wife did not stand by him.
Oh, all right.
And defend him for being a super asshole.
Okay, I mean, I don't blame her.
She was smart. She was like, I just wanted to get kinky and have group sex. I didn't think we were going to be raping little boys without... No, just doing that, no. No, I'm out of here.
He had opportunities without little young men.
And also, they had a son, so she was probably like, can you get our fucking kid away from this asshole? Because he's a monster.
Okay.
So... he wanted a new life, obviously. He got out of jail, and he was able to get a job as a cook cook. Goodness. A past tense. He was a cooked. So everyone said he was acting different when he got out of prison. Like, he was really driven, and he was trying to just be successful at any cost. He had this, like, fire on him at that point in time. Okay. So by 1971, he saved up enough money to open his own contracting company. And it was called PDM. Painting, decorating, maintenance. He does it all. So this would end up being his avenue to his obsession of an access to teenage boys.
Oh, right.
So
I can connect that.
Foreshadowing. Right. So he was even a super gross birthday clown named Pogo. Okay. He performed at children's hospitals. He was like doing this whole public figure thing. And
probably like, wow, he's such a great person now doing this.
Oh, he's at the party.
He's like, you know,
he's
cheering up the sick children in the hospital.
He's such a good person. Okay. Yeah, so people kind of forgot about like everything he did, and he had relocated back home. Wow. He didn't actually commit his previous crimes in Chicago, so he's back there. Being a gross birthday clown, fucking the face painting, like, you need to look at it.
I'm falling asleep for some reason. Man.
Don't do it. You need coffee.
I'm going to get coffee right after we finish this story.
We don't normally record in the morning. Actually, this is our first time to record before noon. I'm a super morning person. I'm not.
Yeah, it's not the story that's boring me. I'm just a tired person.
That's probably what's happening. It's a different time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Come alive at night. So he's got his contracting business. He's a fucking birthday clown. He's still trying really hard to suppress his sexual desires. And the more he tries to like hold it in, the more aggressive he becomes. So he had a girlfriend, and he explained to her that he was bisexual. He always claims to be bisexual. He never ever says that he's gay.
Right.
So that's always his thing. And he let her know that he'd been in prison. And she was like, cool. Like, she was super chill with it. Like, I get you. I accept you for who you are.
Okay.
So then in January of 1972, he picks up a young boy from the Greyhound bus station and offers him a ride, as you do. Just waiting outside the Greyhound station looking for boys. It's totally chill.
Yep.
So he invites the boy over to his house, and they have sex.
Okay.
Afterwards, Gacy decided that he would stab him in the chest and bury him in the crawl space under his house. So...
And this is the first murder, right?
Yes, so this one was really impulsive. And so he was really able to...
Obviously, you can't bribe him.
Right?
Obviously, you can't threaten him with the mob. I guess you gotta kill him.
He had no choice. No. Oh, God, it's horrible. He shouldn't have been creeping outside the bus station.
None of it should have... Yeah.
They say it was impulsive, like, it was really, his intention was probably more so just to commit the sexual act, but just kind of being in that heat of the moment.
Right, but then what do you do after? I'm sure he didn't think that far ahead.
Yeah, he went to jail last time.
Well, I would like to think he didn't think that far ahead.
It's one of those things where he had already been punished for it. And his paying somebody off didn't work, and his threats of the mob didn't work, so... He had to silence his victims by getting rid of them. And, nobody's going to know this kid is missing because he's more of like a transient person, he loved to pick marginalized victims. And
it wasn't, you're not going to pick like the president's son.
Well, he already picked the JC member's son, which is, he'd already made all the mistakes. That was a bad decision, yeah. He learned from his mistakes, but he learned how to get away with his crimes. That's the way he learned from his mistakes, is he learned how to improve upon not getting caught, where he can still do what he wants, have this power over people, and not have to face up and be punished for it. He just thought he was so slick. Like, Gacy had such an arrogance about him. The cops talk about that later too.
Really?
He was so arrogant
and
so full of himself that it was just kind of always seeking notoriety and attention. Like, he was just really terrible, needed that validation all the time. So he buries the boy in his crawl space under his house. And then he marries his girlfriend 7 months later, and she totally moves in with her daughters, and maybe $2
above the dead body.
Okay. And so there's 2 little girls living there, and they called him Daddy. Oh, Daddy. So his mom moved out. She still lived there, so she moved out of the house to give them privacy. But soon after the wedding, shit went south because he still wanted to bang young boys. In 1975, he had the house to himself one night, and he invites over one of his 16-year-old employees at his contracting company. Yes. So he's got the boy over, and with the guise of doing a magic trick. This was his thing, because he was birthday clown.
Was it a dick in a box?
It was his dick. He originated the dick in the box joke, actually. So
we can't say that. I'm sorry.
Stole it from
Can't say it. Can't say that.
Good stuff. That didn't happen. So he, because he did all like the birthday stuff and did a bunch of tricks and card tricks, like he was known for doing that as a clown. Mm-hmm. And he would do a trick that was called the handcuff trick. So it's where he fucking puts you in handcuffs and then there's no way out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he could get people to go along with it and they would think he was all playing, and then he'd do the fucking handcuff trick, and then immediately, like, with this particular victim, he gagged him.
Oh my god.
And then proceeded to sexually torture him.
Wow.
So he had made a homemade garrote, like a tourniquet.
Whoa.
And strangled him. And he actually talked about this in one of the interviews.
Really?
So he was actually talking about how he made it and how he did it. And he's like, yeah, you can just twist and twist. It, like, hearing him talk about it made me want to, like, jump through the TV and just, like, punch him in the face. Like, it was so awful.
Easy peasy. DIY it, man.
Yeah, DIY. He was, like, doing he would have loved Pinterest. He would have done his...
dark web Pinterest.
The dark web Pinterest that he would have had. And he put the body into the crawl space. It's his favorite spot.
All right.
So his compulsion to kill was a combination of his need to gain power and dominate someone. Yeah. And then he also had his underlying sexual desires that he was suppressing. So those three things is completely came out in the form of murdering and raping. So after 3 years of marriage, Gacy and his wife got a divorce. Okay. So that didn't go well. Now we're going to enter another section that's nothing but triggers. It's called Killing All Day.
Killing all day.
Killing all day. So Gacy is a single boy, and he's a boy gone wild. Now that he has fewer responsibilities and a house all to himself, he just started abducting boys. And he would hold them at gunpoint, take them back to his house.
He had a routine at this point.
Mm-hmm. He's getting good at this. He'd rape them, kill them, bury them in the crawl space, and then, you know how it is when your crawl space is starting to run out of room. There's boys everywhere. He has, oh God, he is literally running out of room to put his victims, which is so ridiculous, awful. Wow. I laugh because it's so uncomfortable. It's so horrific to think about these poor victims.
Oh my God.
Like, and there was even a map. Like, he had them plotted so perfectly and segmented out.
So if I Google it,
you could press it. Yeah, it's really upsetting. So it's awful. So he's running out of space for his victims, and he solves the problem by having some of his employees come help him out. He tells them he has a project and that he's like remodeling his basement, and gets them over there, and they start digging up his basement floor, so that he could have access to soft ground to continue to do this to his victims. So super fucked up. He actually had one of his employees renting a room from him. So he's got a teenage boy roommate.
Like just ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this,
also, okay.
Yeah, this is an interesting story. So this is the most insight we have into Gacy and first account tales because he survives an attack from John Gacy. And he lived to tell about it, and most people did not. So this is really interesting, first-hand account. So basically, his roommate employee came home one night to find Gacy wasted and dressed up as fucking Pogo the clown. So he's wearing his stupid clown costume.
I just saw a picture of the clown costume.
Yeah, he's like a super shitty clown. It's shitty face paint.
It's not
even good. He's not good at that. I'm disappointed that he's not good at being a clown. I bet his dad would have been ashamed. No, he was horrible at everything, and yes.
Oh my God.
So he pulled the handcuff trick on his employee, and his employee got fucking pissed off.
Really?
Dude was yelling at him and saying stop or I'll kick your ass. And I saw the interview with his former roommate. It was heard him tell this story.
Really?
And he said in response that Gacy started growling at him like a rabid dog, like an actual
growling.
He
was in his own
Yeah. When he was, like, told to stop, he starts growling like an animal. And then they actually got into a physical fight. So a drunk clown who's growling at you is, while you're handcuffed, is physically fighting you. And even with the handcuffs on, his name was David Cram. And even with the handcuffs on, he fucking got away. Like, he was able to fight Gacy off, got out, ran away, and moved out immediately. So at this point in time, Gacy has 19 boys buried in his basement.
19?
19.
Okay.
So...
they're not really buried, are they?
They're buried. Like, he like plotted them and dug them in there. That's why he needed his employees to come dig up the floor, so he'd have more soft ground to bury them. And he would go down there and pour lime on it and just do whatever he could to like keep the smell down. And that's 19 bodies, and this is over like the course of a few years. But he's killing a lot. So it's May 1978. He's back in the limelight, and he's organizing the Polish Independence Day Parade, which made me laugh. I was like, that's dumb. Yeah, I saw a picture of him at the event, and he's with President Jimmy Carter's wife, just like hanging out. He's like a socialite. He's fucking on the town, being cool, posing for pictures. Like, this guy is a monster, and he's leading this insane double life.
Wow.
Yeah. So... he's total creep, and at this point, he was killing every 2 to 3 weeks. So he's on a fucking rampage until the police started looking for a missing boy. So, Gacy's 36 at this time.
Yeah.
He was criming it up. He was keeping up his appearances in public. He was living like a double life as fuck. He was even on a bowling league up until the day he was arrested, and then he like fucks up. So... this section is called Getting Caught. Okay, so he ruses in a young boy.
Take some notes real quick.
Oh, take some notes.
I got some ideas. Go ahead.
I love our notes.
I know, we're so cool.
Your notes probably will be better than this. So he ruses in a young boy who worked at a local drugstore and promised him a better paying job. He was like, come work for my company. I want to hire you. I'll pay you so much better than what you're making here. And the boy's like, sweet. And he was never seen alive again. He was Gacy's 33rd victim. So.
Whoa. Okay.
So there were witnesses who saw the boy leave with Gacy because he picked a local person in a public place, lured him out of his place of employment. Like, it was all documented. Like, there were people nearby to see this. And it's a drugstore in the fucking 70s. So, he thought he was, like, super smooth and could get away with it. But the cops, like, came by his house, and he was totally fucked when the police searched everything and started finding personal belongings of other missing teenagers. Ooh, so they see shit in his house. They can't really do much with it yet. You know, that doesn't prove anything at that point. You do have to have proof. But the cops start watching him 24/7. And this is where Gacy becomes, like, super arrogant, like I talked about earlier. So he got really cocky, and one night while the cops were following them, like, he paid for their dinner at a local diner. Like, he had the audacity to just be like, it's on me tonight, fellas, and go pay for their fucking dinner. Like, he... And everybody still really liked him. That was the thing, is everybody said, like, we really liked him. We didn't want him to have to look at him for this, but everybody saw him with that kid. So it was one of those things, like, even the cops don't want to think that he is this person. It's really weird. And in fact, he was so fucking arrogant, he invited the whole surveillance team over to his house for a fish dinner, which sounds terrible. So, and then one of the officers, while they were eating, smelled something horrible coming from the air vents.
Whoa, okay.
And so after they leave, like, you know, the police didn't realize what it was right away. You know, it took them a minute to be like, what the fuck? Also, the smell of fish cooking. I don't... Fish plus dead body. It was probably confusing for everyone. Gross. So... So Gacy freaks out now that he knows the cops are onto him. And he wants to beat the cops to the punch because he has to still be in control.
Right, yeah.
So he gets an attorney and confesses every fucking detail. And even offered to show his attorney the crawl space because his attorney didn't believe him. Really? This is how people perceive him in public.
Because it was like he just has put out such a good, this is
and he's like, bro, I killed a shit ton of boys. I mean, there's 33 of them in my basement. If somebody's telling you that, you're probably like, you're totally messing with me, right? Like, that's...
There's no way. You're kidding. There's no
way. Yeah. So, he, like, offers to show him, and it's just crazy that he still had to, like, be in charge. Like, he wanted... If he was going to go down, it was going to be on his terms. It wasn't going to be them taking him down in the way that, you know, they probably wanted to. Mm-hmm. It was going down completely how he wanted to, and he was going to be the only one to expose himself. Like, nobody else is going to do it. And the cops were already on the scene at this time, like, before he could really finish confessing to his lawyer. Like, the cops are already there with a search warrant, and then they started digging in the crawl space. So, right before Christmas, December 21st, 1978, he's arrested for murder. Okay. Everybody says he was in good spirits. He's laughing and joking with the police and just being Mr. Arrogant. Like, even after he's literally knows he's screwed. He's caught. He's found out. He's been exposed. Okay. He's still, his confidence is never shaken, which is so odd. Okay. He's just still so arrogant about it and just thinks it's so funny. So now, here we go. The Gacy Finale. So his family's devastated. Mm-hmm. Like, can you imagine? Right. His mother was horrified that in her home that she had built a life and a family, and there were 13 bodies in it. Like, he's 37 years old at this time. And he's going... Oh,
it was her house, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You're right.
That's the house he grew up in. Down in the basement where his dad drank the brandy and fucking got all angry. So there was, like, bad energy. Wow. Bad energy down there.
They should have saged the house.
They needed help. They needed all the crystals, which I'm covering up right now. Sorry,
yeah, get your crystals back
out. They definitely needed some smudging. They needed an exorcism in that basement because it's evil. I can't imagine the evil vibes that are down there. Gross. So, he's 37. He goes on trial for murder. Mm-hmm. And the defense decided to go for an NGBRI, so not guilty by reason of insanity plea. Okay. So, nope, he was found guilty and sentenced to death. They said, you suck. Go fuck yourself. Nah. And bye. You knew exactly what you were doing because you tried to cover it up. That's a big thing when you're trying to do, an insanity plea. Right. You have to be able to prove that, like, you didn't know what you were doing was wrong. Yeah. Clearly, somebody who goes to the lengths that he went to cover up your crimes, you knew what you were doing, fuckhead. Like, you're not fooling anybody. Shut up. So, guilty. Sentenced to death. And then he congratulated the prosecutors and told them, good job, and said that he respected them. What? He's still an arrogant piece of shit. Okay. Like, he's still just being like, good job, fellas. Like, just really respect the work you did. He's horrible. And he still is, like, insisting publicly that he is not gay and that he is bisexual. He's really gets angry anytime someone accuses him of being gay. Okay. So he's...
Yeah, he doesn't want to be seen that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was sent to the Menard Correctional Facility in Southern Illinois, and he cashed in on the hype by becoming an artist and doing gross paintings of himself as Pogo the Clown. They're offensive, and they are still, I believe, for sale. Like, there are people who bought them. Like, he was selling them. Right. And people were buying them. Ugh. And then he decided to write a book claiming he was innocent, as if someone else put 33 bodies in his basement. And the book was called A Question of Doubt.
Oh, cute.
Don't you just fucking hate
this guy? It's a very poetic name.
It's such an asshole. Okay. He claimed that he was the 34th victim. All the bodies had been planted there by his employees. He also claimed his schedule was too busy for him to have killed all those boys. I don't have time for that. Do you know how much time it takes? I'm a very busy man. Do you know how many birthday parties I have this weekend? I have some clowning to do.
This is
damn it
outlandish.
This is insane. So, like, what the fuck? He's such an idiot. Wow. But his mom kept believing in his innocence.
Really?
Yes.
Oh man.
She believed him until she had several strokes and, like, lost all memory of his crimes.
I mean, so was she pretty old when he was convicted? I mean, maybe it was easier for her and her.
I'm not sure how old she is. I didn't look.
Like, if she felt death was right around the corner, like, I'm not gonna fight this battle, this emotional battle.
I think it's also one of those things as a parent, like being in denial and being like, you want to believe your child is not capable. You want to believe you didn't raise a monster because that's a reflection on the self.
Right.
I raised someone capable of killing 33 young boys. Like, no one wants that to be true of themselves, you know. Yeah. That puts responsibility back on you. And when we have that type of cognitive dissonance, we have to reduce it. It's human nature.
Right.
We do not want to.
We can't handle it. Yeah.
Anytime something conflicts with our morals or values, or if we do something to confirm the opposite of our morals, we reduce that dissonance. And most of the time, it's going to be through like justifying it, through victim blaming, and then through just completely changing your attitude about it, and being like, "I know I believe this. This isn't against my morals. I did nothing wrong." You minimize that responsibility. So
that's rough.
And that's how we get through as humans. That's how we get through any sort of situation we're confronted with in that way. So we will do what it takes to reduce that dissonance. So even if it means lying to ourselves. And I really think that's what happened with his mom. I think that's just how could you let yourself believe that? But she did lose memory as she got older, and didn't remember, crimes happening at all. Yeah. And then she passed away in 1989. So just 5 years before John dies. So 5 years later.
So she didn't see him.
No.
Yeah.
She left this earth before his execution. So that was probably, as a parent, that was probably
nice for her. Yeah.
I mean, it's already been awful. Can you imagine the public scrutiny? Well, we're going to get to his death, and we're going to talk a little about the public reaction to it, which is pretty wild. So, May 10th, 1994, he dies of lethal injection at the Stateville Prison in Joliet, Illinois. So, it's just south of Chicago. His sister was there. I saw her talk about this in the interview. So, she was with him during his final hours. There were hundreds of spectators outside of the prison chanting, "Kill him!" And they counted it down. They were waiting for the countdown. Everybody was so excited. Meanwhile, his sister's inside, and she said that he told her he loved her and that he used that time to make peace with God. So he believed in God. At 12:40 a.m., he's injected, and he dies 8 minutes later. So before we got on here, I wanted to learn about that long time frame, because I was 8 minutes sounds like a long time.
Yeah, I was like, was he put out? Was he
unconscious?
Was it out?
Which, with lethal injection, we know that is one of the humane forms of legal capital punishment. So we know it has to be some sort of standards of what makes something humane, and it is supposed to put them in a state of sort of an unconsciousness while their body systems kind of shut down. Eventually their heart will stop, but it does put them into some sort of a conscious state. It compromises their breathing. So, I mean, it's probably not a pretty thing to watch. Can you imagine watching that for 8 minutes? Sounds, I don't know. That's a lot.
If it's
whatever you believe on that, but
if they're put to sleep, right? Is it similar to I would be curious if it's similar to when you put your dog to sleep, because people watch that.
Oh, I've never done that. Oh gosh, that's
anyway. Sorry.
Rough topic.
Sorry.
We're getting dark, you guys.
Sorry.
We're talking about death, though. We are talking about the actual death. We've talked about a lot of death, but this is the death of actually John Wayne Gacy. So he dies at 12:48 a.m. At 3 a.m., his body was secretly transported to a nearby hospital where his brain was extracted for psychological testing. So at this point in time, this is the 90s, early 90s.
We were interested in that kind of testing. Yeah.
Yeah, you know about science.
I remember the 90s.
I mean, about 90s science. So they were really scientists wanted to know if there was something going wrong with his brain.
Off balance, yeah.
What kind of abnormalities are here? What is it formed differently? But there were none.
Wow.
Normal brain. So, for John, final words. When he was good and had a real drive for success. But when he was bad, he went hard into destruction mode. Pisces. He'd be so extreme. That's my literal notes.
Good job. Round of applause for Brittney.
Thank you.
Okay.
And look at this. This is a bonus page of the notes where the printing went really awry. And
it's ombre.
And I stapled it in here.
You still kept it. You still kept it.
It's nostalgic now.
The notes will be scanned on Patreon, so check that out.
There's lots of scribbles. There's lots of interesting crap. And not interesting crap on here. Oh my god. I do have a math equation I would like to share. Watch porn plus get drunk in my basement equals handcuff trick. This was my math subnote of the Getting Gross section.
So stag films, though.
The stag films. Okay.
All right.
Are we ready to chart it out?
You're chart it out. All right. It's time to look at the charts.
Gacy chart time.
Here we go. Just adjust this towards me. Okay. All right. So we have John Wayne Gacy. He was born March 17th, 1942.
Pisces!
Again. We didn't do it on purpose.
I know.
We really, really didn't.
It just is a weird coincidence every time, making me feel weird about being a Pisces. It's all good.
So he's not only a Pisces, he has a double Pisces.
What does that mean?
This is like more of like a fun phrasing for people to use. It's not necessarily like if you talk to like a traditional astrologer, they might not say like you're a double whatever, but it's like a very common phrasing to use, at least in the US. People will say this a lot. So his moon and sun are Pisces. They are conjunct. They're 2 degrees apart.
Okay.
2.5 degrees.
The half degree makes a huge difference.
I mean,
probably
it's all about the degrees. If you're talking to a good astrologer, it's all about the degrees.
Okay.
Good to know. So 2.5 degrees apart from his sun. They're in the 3rd decan of Pisces. His ascendant, we have a birth time. Yes. He's born at 12:29 a.m. This is based on what I found online from another astrologer, so I'm hoping that is the correct time because there's not a good way to validate that.
But there was also nothing contradicting that time either.
We didn't see any other time, so I'm going to assume this is the time.
We're going to say that it's official AF, and we're going with it. So
we got some coffee.
We did. We got coffee. If you've noticed the increase in energy, no.
Here we go, guys.
Ready. Chart. Okay.
Okay, right. I had like 50 thoughts for some reason. This coffee is working. All right.
Coffee is great.
Coffee's great, guys.
Okay. We need a coffee sponsor. No.
Okay, so his ascendant is Sagittarius. It is cusping Scorpio.
Okay.
So, Sagittarius, like, where do I want to start here?
Britney Spears is Sagittarius.
I know.
Sorry.
So is Miley Cyrus.
Really?
It's sort of like an energy that really wants that like free spirited, like they kind of have luck following them in a way with Sagittarius, a lot of Sagittarius energy.
My mama is also a Sagittarius. Shout out to my mama.
My dad's a Sagittarius.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
So first the things I want to talk about are the double life situation, because you were saying that there was a lot of like. How he was behind closed doors and internally based on how he came off to people. So, with the moon conjunct his sun, like if he is hiding his internal self, he's also hiding his whole personality because they're the same. Both being Pisces. And, with Pisces, there is, like I mentioned in the other ones, like a little bit of like escapism, kind of like isolation kind of themes with that. But generally, what I wanted to talk about with his double life is he has a Gemini Stellium. Okay. And this is, Gemini's the twins. Mm-hmm. Not saying that everyone, that this necessarily means that you're two-faced or that you're bipolar or anything like that. Right. But there can be like trends of like you have multiple faces you put on.
Okay.
And this is where he found his empowerment, because Lilith is there. This is where his aggression lies. His Mars is there.
Okay. He was quite aggressive.
His passion and aggression, yes, in Gemini. And then he also has Jupiter there. So Jupiter is about, it's self-growth, expansion. It's kind of what you want, this energy you really want in your life. Generally, like, wherever Jupiter is on your chart, you might like that sign a lot, depending on how it is for your whole chart. It's likely that you really like that sign, that zodiac sign. So Gemini for him, it looks like there's a lot of like push-pull in who he is.
Major identity conflict happening with this guy. It's quintile.
It's quintile his sun and moon. So this is him trying to like strategize, like. He's using that opportunity always. He's using this Gemini energy to empower himself, expand himself in multiple ways, and really like figure out how to deal with his internal world.
Wow. Okay.
And then
totally makes sense.
This is square his south node and north node, and that can really show like obstacles and challenges coming through on his life path, on his journey in this life, his life purpose. It's stressful, you know. So like maybe when he leans into that energy to try to deal with, really give himself some self-empowerment. Maybe he feels like he's not on his true path. Maybe he feels like he's directionless when he gets to that point, or you know, there's definitely conflict. So like he goes to this self-empowerment place and like tries to, you know, take opportunities and all of those things, but then he doesn't feel good about where he's headed necessarily.
Wow.
You know,
see that.
And so that's part of the cycle, and then that blocks. There's a quincunx from his north node to Pallas and Venus, and also this is also quincunx's vertex. Yeah. So where life is putting him and where he's supposed to be going in life, he really feels like okay, so he's feeling directionless, or you know, like he's off his purpose, and then all of that is causing like a block to him feeling loved, him being able to give love, him and his inner wisdom, like decision making. This is affecting his decision making. It kind of feels like life is like pulling him a lot. It
really is interesting you mentioned that about love, because like thinking about it, he never truly has any love relationship. Yeah. I mean, he had, you know, sounds like really sexual relationship with his first wife. And then his second wife, I don't really, you know, there's not a lot that I was able to really dive into about their relationship, but it ended so quickly. It just seems like relationships were unfulfilling to him, like that type of love. Yeah, like he didn't experience
it was always a block. Yeah. Like there's always a block there for him, and his Venus is in Aquarius, which I talked about before, how it kind of gives you a little bit more of a detached ability in that area. So, like, I could see it being fairly easy for him to have, like, a strategic marriage or love.
Right, and that's what it seems like it was every time. Like,
you know, he can kind of he can kind of detach a little bit and be like, "Yeah, I love you, woman." Like,
woman.
Like he can probably make enough distance in his heart to make that work for a period of time.
Right.
But it's not like a true, you know, love. And it does show that like marriage helps him in a way, but it also enslaves him. Like,
so it's like it forces him that stability, to that normalcy, to keep that like daily routine of like a ritual probably, and like a sense of maybe even accountability. Yeah. Because he can't go off the rails so much. He's not like a man left to his own devices.
Right. And so he has...
Yeah, seems very, like you said, like a prison, but also like the thing that keeps him from being able to just go on a fucking rampage. Where at the end...
Right.
As soon as he was single...
There's a really interesting duality with that. Because like what I'm getting at is he has Juno in the 12th house in Scorpio. And Juno is about commitments and marriages. This is in retrograde, so it really can show like a pattern of like it being slow to marry, or having like wish-washy marriages, or like a marriage that's maybe on and off. Okay. Maybe because retrograde, you know, it's more of an introspective way for a planet to be moving. It's more of like a slow down pattern. So like it might you know, it does make like a, you know, if you want like a lifelong devoted marriage, like that does make it a little bit more less likely on a chart, just based on where it is on his chart. Okay. And in the 12th house, this is like an isolating house. This is also like your intuition and your spirituality, and kind of like your last, you know, if Aries in the first house are being born in childlike, it's the youngest. You go all the way around to Pisces in the 12th house. It's the oldest, and it's kind of like your last breaths. You're on your way out. You're about to transition into the next realm or whatever you believe happens. So this is kind of like It's kind of like that spiritual, dreamy space in the zodiac. Pisces, yeah. And it's also like an escapism thing. It's like...
Can confirm.
There's a lot. It's also a self-destructive place at times.
Absolutely.
So marriage was that to him. Like, he was it's kind of like he put himself in a prison in marriage in a way. But it could have, in a way it did help him because he's got positive aspects to it, like to his sun and moon, so it kind of like kept him in check maybe a little bit.
And also there's another aspect to what marriage could be doing for him in a sense of like wanting to make his father proud, because he does say like that's what made him feel like I've done it. Daddy loves me now because I'm married and I'm this, so it is a way to like establish
that's very
a position of power too, which is what he's always looking for. So marriage serves a lot of purposes for him that I didn't think about before.
That's cool. A good way. I didn't think about the father thing again, but it is opposite Saturn. It's trine the sun. So usually when you look at how someone views their father, you look at Saturn and sun.
Okay.
For the mother, you look at the moon. So it kind of depends on people. Different astrologers will do the sun or Saturn. I do both usually.
Interesting.
So it is opposite that and all of his double life stuff I was talking about. So it's like the contrast of, it's really interesting. He let's see, what did I want to say next? I won't go too much into
refer to your notes that you took. I love it.
Fancy notes.
I'm so proud of your
notes.
Look
at my notes.
I mean, that's a lot of paper. It's a square of notes.
No, I'll scan my notes in too. I know you guys are gonna be.
Hey, they can go on this page of irrelevant crap that I printed out. That's like a printer
two
fail.
Sticky notes. It's not even a full second sticky note. Like, it's not. Okay. Let's move on. So, all right. The next thing I wanted to get at. Let's see. This is... Okay. All right. Further, and then deeper into the second life, the double life thing. I got this really interesting idea, too. So he is a Sagittarius Rising. And one thing with Sagittarius Rising is that like, you're really able to give off kind of like a good vibes thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not necessarily people-pleasing, but it's also, like, you can kind of just turn it on and, like...
That charm.
It's like a charm thing. Yeah. That's, like, that's pretty easy for a Sag Rising. And then a cusping Scorpio, I kind of make he could probably make it seem more genuine than, like, than, like, a plain Sag Rising, because like Scorpio doesn't want any bullshit, like like he probably could kind of like teeter that line of like being charming but not fake,
right? Okay.
And really, but he obviously kind of was being fake,
but it was believably fake.
Yes,
that's what matters. Like obviously the intentions were not good, but they were self-seeking intentions always with Gacy, but that people bought it.
Yeah.
People didn't see through him, which is why people were so surprised when it all came out, and like even the cops didn't want to believe it. They were like wanting it to be anyone but him.
His public perception is the 10th house, and that is your reputation. It's also a place where you can look for your career.
That mattered a lot to him.
So his is in Virgo. It starts in Virgo. He has Neptune in retrograde there. Which I felt was really interesting because it's kind of like his intuition is kind of focused in on how he can build a reputation. It's really also creating like kind of a wall of illusion there. Neptune, Pisces, that's illusions, kind of dreamy.
And he was a clown and loved illusions of hand.
I don't know how to do the clown thing on here.
Don't do it.
Anyway. Yeah, he can really kind of create this kind of like
his love of illusion,
this like kind of like illusion wall over his like reputation, kind of this deception, but it only worked for periods of time because it is in retrograde. So it kind of like worked for a while and then not work, and kind of work for a while and then not work. But it seemed like he was always able to catch himself back up. Like you said, like he got caught. He went to prison.
He went to jail,
and then he came back out, and people were like, "Oh yeah."
And he took pictures with Jimmy Carter's wife after. Like she didn't know that she was hanging out with a pedophile.
Yeah, like he had this ability, but it wasn't going to work consistently all the time. Which is really interesting, and that's sextile his ascendant, so that really plays into the charm as well. And then all of that, let's see, there's a square to his Mercury in Ceres from his ascendant. And also also a quincunx from the Neptune I was talking about. So this is the same planets that are giving him that like outward public charm.
Okay.
Is really negatively affecting his mind, his thoughts, the way he communicates, and what he needs to feel loved. So he can put on the show, but it like damages him like in his mind. It makes him kind of think more dark thoughts. It kind of makes him feel like he doesn't have what he needs to feel loved in this life. Like he can't have what he needs. And then there's a square from there down to Uranus and Saturn, which is, partly a father thing. Also,
Saturn.
Yeah. Also, like, also, Uranus is the unpredictable planet. Like, no one can exactly predict what Uranus will do in a chart or anywhere. It kind of shakes things up a little bit. So he kind of makes him a little unpredictable. It kind of makes him really stressed because it's putting like Saturn's stress on his mind. So Saturn is like really limiting. It's kind of like that old father figure where you're, that wants you to do everything by the book.
And that's how his dad was. Obedience. Yeah,
that's a poorly aspected Saturn energy. And so that's affecting his mind. So it's kind of like there's this psychological pattern going on here. Really just making him not feel loved. If you haven't one, we're gonna... That was probably a terrible noise for the mic. I'm sorry.
It looks like the square, like the shape of it. There's lots of square things going on. I don't know things about the chart, so I love just looking at the shape, and I judge it by how messy it is. Like, boy, that looks like mess. That's messy.
People are messy, okay?
That's going to be a wild
People
ride.
are messy.
Yes, that's
a crazy life to live.
I mean, did you see those squares? That's my chart. That's my
I'll sometimes do that too. I'm like, wow.
Wow. Okay.
All right, what was next on my list here? Okay. All right, so let's see his North Node, South Node situation. So your nodes. This is also Ketu and Rahu if you're more into like Vedic terms. I know.
I'm not into it. Clearly, I don't know what that means.
It's like we're doing Western astrology. You can also do sidereal Eastern astrology. I usually kind of do a mixture of both, but mainly for this, I do Western tropical astrology. Okay. I could also look at Draconic, which might be fun. But I'll get into that later. Draconic is like your soul chart.
Whoa, we didn't have like a breakdown of the different types of charts. Like that could be a
meaning to make a
segment.
YouTube video about it, but me and YouTube videos, like
do a side segment about it maybe sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe for Patreon.
Special content for Patreon. Okay, so his South Node is where he's coming from from his past life and from his childhood, and his North Node is where he's going towards throughout the span of his life. It's kind of like a life path, life purpose. His South Node, where he's coming from, is in the 3rd house in Pisces. So one thing here that you have to mention, it's not his Sun and Moon are not conjunct the South Node, but they are in the same sign and they're close. This can create like a self-hatred, because like your South Node is it's like your comfort zone. Like, I'm comfortable doing this, but it never serves me. So it's like, I have one example that's like not related to this at all. Billie Eilish.
Oh, yeah.
So her Sun, I think, is conjunct her South Node, and she has a song that's like, I don't want to be you anymore. Like,
wow.
like I don't want to be me anymore.
Yeah.
It's
he
kind of
totally
like,
had that.
It's kind of like that vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was in like an identity tolerance stage as far as like becoming who he was as a person, because he knew he had these thoughts. He was acknowledging thoughts of homosexuality. Yeah. But he still, to the day he died, denied being gay. When for him, I think that was his struggle the entire time, was that
he was rejecting himself.
He couldn't live a gay lifestyle. He couldn't see himself being with only a man, and I think that's what he maybe truly wanted. Yeah. But wouldn't allow himself, so he kept marrying these women, and something wasn't fitting, but it was kind of like this box. So I think that's another way that
and it
marriage
gets worse
was like
over time. It damages his mind every cycle he goes through with this.
The longer you hate yourself, the worse it is for you.
Really, though.
No hating.
And,
it's a bummer.
Anyway. So he's going from, he's always going to have this kind of situation where he doesn't want to be himself. And the Mercury Ceres situation is also tied in. They're also in Pisces. Mm-hmm. And coming from the third house is kind of like your close communities, like your inner circle. Maybe even think like your neighborhood. I'm trying to think of like different ways to phrase it. And people you're like generally close to are not accepting you. So you're not accepted by your close communities. And you're being asked in this life to rise above and find freedom for yourself. So his North Node then is in the ninth house, where he's really looking to escape that confinement, that rejection from his past, and move above it and become this like great guy, this great person.
That didn't work out, Gacy. You fucked it up
because of all his double life stuff. I see those squares, man. But there's different ways with this. With this, I think it's really difficult because he has his South Node. The energy it's taking on is Piscean, or he doesn't like that. He doesn't want to be him. So then he's trying to compensate for that by taking on his North Node energy, which is Virgo. Now Virgo is so different from Pisces. They're really great opposites.
I don't know much about Virgos.
Virgo. Pisces is kind of like wishy-washy, like go with the flow, and then Virgo really wants to. You do have some Virgo in your chart, so it's not gonna. Your ascendant, I think, is Virgo.
Oh,
so it's not gonna feel that weird to you. But it's like you want to do all your chores, you want to do things the right way. You have a routine.
Yes. Yes. Check down the list.
It's the sign of the year where it's harvest time. So it's like the people that would go bring in the harvest, like, we did it, guys, we got it. Here's what we did. We need hard workers to go get the crops from the fields. It's kind of like they're not afraid of putting in the work.
Is this kind of like a breadwinner, support, head of household type of an energy? I'm not sure.
It depends, but this is.
I'm trying to translate it into things, and that's what it's.
How many different ways can I say?
That's what my brain is going with.
Let me think. They're also intuitive. It's like a grounded, earthly intuition.
Okay.
Because a lot of people will write off Virgo as just being hypercritical and do it all, martyry, whatever. But really, they do have a very grounded intuition. They can feel out situations well for an Earth sign. Most of the time we put intuition into water signs,
right?
But this is a very intuitive sign as well.
Oh, cool.
And it's for him and his squares to this and his issues with this, it can kind of a poor Virgo placement can give you issues with not being perfect. So he's rising out of this not being accepted place and then going into this place where he can't be perfect. It's in retrograde as well, so it's kind of you get a stride. You kind of get going, and you get a stride of good things going on, and then it backfires, and you gotta go again. There's back and forth kind of feeling with that.
Okay.
So there's a lot of struggle with that too.
Wow.
His whole life path is just kind of.
Is this one of those things? Because I know we've looked at a couple of charts now, and it's one of those things where they do something, and if they had made one different move, they would still have been destined, kind of that way. I definitely that way. If he had maybe been comfortable with himself and been able to come out and how I see it is kind of I think I mentioned this pendulum idea before, but it's if you have there's going to be a certain type of energy going on with your stuff, your loose programming and everything. There's a certain theme. Now, if you're going to exacerbate it, it's going to have the bigger, swing. Got it.
So, if he can't move through his struggles, for example, I'm trying to think of an easier example than like him. So like, for me, like I've had like anxiety issues and things like that, and if I can't move through that, it's going to get worse and worse until I deal with it. Does that make sense? Kind of like how people have to hit rock bottom. So like you need to kind of like address an issue fully, you know, or it's going to get worse. And so for him, he like didn't seem to ever address it. He let it continue. He kept denying who he really was. He kept really like doing this double life thing, kind of like trying to sneak out of dealing with it.
Yeah, people totally said that about him. They said, like, the more he denied who he was, the more he acted out.
Exactly.
The more violent he got. The more he tried to put up his public appearance, the less he was that person that he was trying to make everyone believe that he was.
He was just letting the struggles of his chart escalate. And that really makes like a bigger...
It's crazy.
That's why I say we're loosely programmed with these charts, because you're given this energy to deal with. It's up to you. It's still kind of up to you and how you deal with it.
Yeah.
Kind of like when they say with kids, like you can have a feeling, but you choose how you act on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So that's
the same shit happens to everyone, but your response is what differentiates one person from the other. Like life happens to everybody. So. Wow.
And that's kind of, man, like when you see people having like big events happening in their life, a lot of times they'll kind of come in a cluster because it's kind of like. The energy's really swinging right then, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Where if you want to have like a calmer lifestyle, like it'll result in kind of like a less chaotic,
less extreme kind of
results. Yeah. Unless you have like a weird Uranus placement, I feel like that kind of messes that up. Yeah, this is really fun.
Do you have any final
I do have another thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So, more with his struggle on being able to deal with his emotional traumas, like we were just talking about. Mm-hmm. His Chiron, which is your vulnerabilities and emotional traumas, is in the 8th house in Leo. So, this, you know, and there's a Pluto in retrograde right next to it. So, Pluto can kind of be about, like, transformation and power and things like that. And then Chiron for him, in the 8th house, this can be about change, sexuality. This can be even like underground kind of things, like below the surface things, like written between the lines of life. A lot of people will say this is like occult things, like if you're into like
dark shit.
Like dark shit, but occult can just mean like you like what crystals do, you know, or you like tarot.
My true crime obsession.
Like it could be dark things like that. Psychology could even fit here. Okay. Like it's how things work. Like it could also be science, like biology and whatever. Cool. But for him, I think it's really probably manifested more in the expression of sexuality. Yeah, because
that shit was dark.
Leo wants to express, he can't express. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. So this like emotional issue related to being able to express his sexuality is shown with that Chiron placement. And he has strides where it goes better, strides where it's worse, because it's that retrograde action.
And that's evident throughout his, like, you know, the taking that time off, which is, you know, they say that serial killers will have that cooling off period.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cycle.
And it completely does for him, because then when it heats back up, it's like every 2 weeks, like he's insatiable at that point. And he's acting out constantly with that sexual violence. And I mean, that's ultimately how he got caught, was through that spree, because before that, you know, he had killed more than 19 boys and then had a cooling off period. So...
Yeah.
But as soon as he was a single boy, it was on.
Single man time.
Oh my god.
I'd be interested to see transits of like when the killings happen too.
Yeah.
Like and see what, because you know the moon goes around the chart every month. You know, like if it hits like something similar on his chart every time they kill, like that would be interesting. Ooh. You know what I mean?
Ooh. Yeah. You go really deep.
I know, that would be a whole podcast though. Yeah. Like going through each murder of someone. But it'd be cool.
Especially when they have 33
murders.
Like that's a lot of killing. Mm-hmm. It's horrible to think about.
Well, it looks like he's got some struggles.
I mean, there were bad things that happened for sure. to him, because of him. I mean, it kind of, like I would say, you hear their story and you feel sympathy for them until a certain point. Like, you know.
Like, at that point, you need to grow up and deal with your problems.
Because if you don't, it doesn't manifest in a positive way.
Exactly.
And whether or not people become murderers, like, ignoring your bullshit, like, it does not usually go well for people. No. It comes out in other ways, so deal with your things, everyone.
If you got it.
Address your feelings. Feel your feelings.
Feel your feelings. Don't be afraid to feel your feelings. Don't blame other people for your feelings.
Right.
Even if they were part of the problem.
Know
you
that
can't just live your whole life.
Yeah. Your feelings and your happiness are your responsibility at the end of the day. So, look for
if you don't deal with your problems, you might become a serial killer.
And we might read your chart. No, we would not. No, I don't. I can't make these claims.
I almost said something awful. All right, so thank you so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. If you're watching,
if you like what you're hearing and you like the stories, let us know if you have any recommendations.
Any thoughts about the charts? If you pull them yourself, I'm going to put the information below as well, along with all of our links.
Patreon. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram. Subscribe.
You can like and subscribe. You can do it.
We love feedback, so if you do have any suggestions or questions or anything you'd like to let us know, then hit us up. And, I realized we didn't even introduce ourselves. So this has been Brittney and Amy.
This has been Brittney and Amy.
And Dark Alignment, you guys. We're Dark Alignment. Okay, no, that's not
we could make a stupid little sign.
We're gonna have a plaque next time you see
it. I could wood burn one.
Okay, that would be fucking cool. So we're gonna have a cool sign that Amy's gonna create.
Maybe. Eventually.
Well, somebody will. So we'll hire. We're gonna outsource this if we need to.
Okay.
But thank you guys so much. So stay awesome and love yourselves, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.